Welcome to GCE Connect, Module 4, International Human Resource Management, Subject Code 17 MBHR 403, 18 MBHR 403. This module deals with global mindset, global leadership, cross-cultural context and international assignees, current scenario in international training and development, training and developing the international staff, expatriate training, sensitivity training, career development, repatriate training, re-entry, and also it deals with international staff in multinational teams, knowledge transfer in multinational teams. Let us start with developing global mindset. Success of global business entirely depends on organizations' pool of highly competent global leaders who have knowledge about products, production and service capabilities around the world and also have the ability to influence the entire world despite diverse culture, political and institutional backgrounds. So here, global mindset is nothing but a key to sustainable competitive advantage in the global economy. Best practices offer 4 recommendations for developing global leaders. Now, what are these 4 recommendations? First recommendation is organization need strategic clarity about what kind of skill a global leader needs. Means organization should be very clear about the strategy which is being followed, the objectives, the mission of the organization, the goal of the organization, and based on that they should have a right match being employed on the position of a global leader. Second recommendation is prospective global leader needs relevant developmental opportunities. So here it means a global leader who is employed in your organization, who is very competent, you need to give relevant development opportunities to that particular leader, or it becomes very difficult to retain the leader in the organization. Third recommendation is prospective global leaders need appropriate level of feedback, resources and support to help them learn from the experiences they have. Means the prospective global leader who is employed in that particular position requires continuous feedback, requires the right resources at the right time, as well support from the entire organization, which helps him to gain the experience as well give good results to the organization. Then people need international perspective and exposure starting early in their careers to maximize the quality of the globally competent expert pipeline. So if you want to have globally competent people in your organization, you need to give them international perspective exposure. So here you have to have a career planning being made for your employees where you give international exposure to the employees so that they improvise on their skills, competence, experience, knowledge, and then it maximizes the quality of globally competent expert pipeline. What are the different characteristics of global mindset? So we have 9 characteristics being jotted down here. First one is broader skill and outlook. Ability to conduct business on global scale. Awareness of national differences, view them as opportunity, make strategy. Ability to understand culture. Ability to manage global complexity, contradictions and conflicts. Creating organization change. Creating, building, engaging and nourishing multicultural teams. Creating the best out of crisis situation. Enable the organization to lean and adapt to global context and global changes and developments. If an organization has all these characteristics, then we say organization consists of people with global mindset. Multinational firms today compete on effectiveness and competence of their core human talent around the world. Increasingly, these core individuals are being required to operate effectively across a variety of national borders and in great number of cross-national job assignments. These international assignees, including all employees working outside their own national boundaries, have collectively become vital for success of multinational firms. These international assignees fill critical staffing needs in subsidiaries, manage key projects, transfer knowledge and corporate culture across geography, work on multinational teams, and perform many other critical tasks for their firm. So here, human resource, if you could see, it is referred to as accumulated stock of knowledge, skill, ability that individuals possess, which the firm has built over time into an identifiable expertise. So building a team with international orientation, committed and competent people who will support the organization's strategic business and also enhancing the core competencies of the organization needs training and development. So here, if you could see, the training will be focusing on various activities to develop the competence of international assignees. Current scenario in international training and development. With the worldwide expansion of companies and changing technologies, organizations in India as well, organizations throughout the world have realized the importance of corporate training. They consider training to be more of a retention tool than a cost. Today, human resource is a source of competitive advantage for all organizations. Therefore, training system in Indian industry has been changed to create a smarter workforce and yield the best results. Training is required in every field, let it be sales, marketing, human resource, relationship building, logistics, production, engineering, etc. It is now a business effective tool and is linked with business outcomes. So with increased awareness of corporate training in Indian industry, a gradual shift from general to specific approach of training has been realized. Training and development of international staff. So here we see the two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is multinational companies spend substantial amount of money on training and development of the employees, that is expatriates. The other side of the coin is cost of expatriate failure is also very high, which the organization cannot bear. So it is very important that you select the right person and provide them with appropriate training before their departure as well as on arrival in a particular country. Now, if you do this, if you select the right person, provide appropriate training before departure and post departure, it will enable the employees or the expatriates to determine in advance appropriate cultural behaviors and suitable ways to perform necessary tasks in the host country. It also helps the expatriates or the employees to cope up with unforeseen events in new culture and reduce conflict due to unexpected situations and actions. The host country provides a realistic expectations for the expatriates or the employees with respect to the living and working in the host country. Now coming down to the components of effective pre-departure training. First component is cultural awareness program. It is being designed to adapt and appreciate host country culture so that expatriates can behave accordingly or to develop coping patterns. So components of the program may vary according to country of assignment, duration of the assignment, purpose of the transfer and provider of programs. When it comes to cultural awareness program training, here there are two things which you need to understand. The degree of dissimilarities between culture. If the interaction of the employee or the expatriate is very high and the degree of dissimilarities between the cultures is very high, then you need to go for high rigor training. If the interaction is very low, the interaction of the employee or the expatriate with the other country, host country nationals is very low, and degree of dissimilarities between culture is very low, that means both the culture are very much similar, then training will be focusing entirely on task and job related issues and less on the cultural issues. So here you have low rigor training and high rigor training. Low rigor training includes sensitivity training, field experiences, etc. So it is given for a shorter period of time. Lectures, videos on local cultures are included in that particular training. Briefing on company operation is being done. So this particular training is being given when an international assignee or an expatriate is going for a very shorter period of time. As well, the similarities between the parent country and the host country is very high. So here you need not focus on culture, you will be focusing on job as well as task related issues. Then you have high rigor training, includes cultural assimilation training, role plays, etc. Here, if you could understand, the degree of interaction between the expatriate or the employee of the parent country with the host country nationals is very high. Then the assignment which is being given is also for a longer term. So here when it comes to training, it lasts over a month. It includes more of experiential learning as well as language training also is included in this. It also includes interaction with the host country nationals. So in this training, you will also be interacting with the host country nationals. You will be learning the language as well as you will be gaining the experience of how to work in that particular culture. So this is called as high rigor training. We have the second component of effective pre-departure training, that is preliminary visit. So here it is very much important, if you are sending an employee on an international assignment, you need to plan a trip overseas for the candidate and the spouse, which provides a preview and allows them to assess their suitability for and interest in the assignment. So it is nothing but pre-preparation of the candidate as well as family of the candidate before sending him on an international assignment. It also assists the expatriates to get familiar with the business context and host country and help encourage more informed pre-departure preparation. So when the employee or the expatriate already knows, he has gone to that particular country, understood that culture of the company, understood the culture of the organization, he has also understood the business context, it becomes very easy for him to get familiar with the organization, as well as it also encourages him to have informed pre-departure preparation. That means he will be mentally as well as physically prepared for his pre-departure. In 1997, European survey mentioned that 53% of the firms always provided preliminary visits. Average visits was about 1 week if the country assigned is not known to the expatriate. The next component of effective pre-departure training is training for the trainer role. So usually expatriates are being employed in the host country to provide training to the host country nationals to make the host country nationals competent. If there is lack of suitable trained staff in the host country nationals, they will be calling the expatriates from the parent countries. So consequently, expatriates often find themselves training host country nationals as their replacement. So here expatriates are given pre-departure training and ability to transfer knowledge and skills in a culturally sensitive manner. So you need to understand here, the expatriates are being trained. Here you are training the trainers. So these trainers are being trained how you can transfer the knowledge, how you can build the competence in the host country nationals, considering the cultural sensitivity. The The next component of effective pre-departure training is practical assistance. So here, pre-departure training should consist of providing information that assists in relocation. So practical assistance should be given to the expatriate, wherein they have been given the information which helps them in relocating from one country to another country. So if they are being left to fend by oneself, it may create a negative response in the mind of the expatriates. So many of the companies will be having relocation specialists who will be providing practical assistance to these expatriates who have relocated. Then also you need to have give the practical assistance in finding suitable accommodation, schooling, language training, etc. and all those things, right? So this is what we say practical assistance. Next component of effective pre-departure training is TCN and HCN expatriate training. TCN is nothing but third country nationals transferred to another country subsidiary. HCN is nothing but host country nationals transferred to the parent country. So till now we have seen about parent country nationals. So here expatriate training is required for TCNs and HCNs also. So these both categories cannot be ignored when it comes to pre-departure training, as it is very much essential to provide both the above categories same training as the parent country national. Next component of effective pre-departure training is provision of training for non-traditional expatriates assignments. So pre-departure training should also be given for the employees who are going on short-term assignment or on non-standard assignment. That is, they are called as non-expatriates. That means they will not be an expatriate, but just they will be going for a short term, finishing their work and coming back. If that is the case, it is required that you have to give pre-departure training to these people also. You cannot ignore the set of non-traditional expatriates who are being given short-term assignments. Then afterwards you have short-term and non-standard assignments. So employees on short-term and non-standard assignments should be given pre-departure training by using moderate technology to overcome time. So here the company cannot spend too much of time and resources on the people who are going on short-term assignments or non-standard assignments or non-specific assignments. So here what you can do is you can use modern technology. You can use the resources like CD web-based training, cross-cultural programs and all those things, and then you can train these people on and it is very much required that you have to give pre-departure training to the non-traditional expatriates. Now let us see type of expatriate training. First we have language training. So here language plays a predominant role in international business. Though English language is widely used in international business transactions, most of the stakeholders like customers, marketing intermediaries may not communicate in English language, even in some of the English-speaking countries like India, Malaysia, etc. So here, some countries in which even business transactions take place in languages other than English like French, Arabic and Germany. So MNCs which are there in these type of countries cannot employ the host country nationals because the required skills, particularly the managerial and technical skills, may not be available in that particular country. So they will be employing the expatriates. So it is very much required for the expatriate to undergo the language training so that it becomes very much easy for the expatriate to perform in that particular organization, in that particular country. Then you have cross-cultural training. So here cross-cultural training is very much important, wherein the trainees are exposed to the factual information about historical, social, cultural, political, economic and religious factors of that particular country, which shapes the mentality and behavior of the people in the given country or the region. Purpose of the training is helping the expatriate and their family members to behave in a particular way in the foreign social and work setup. It also provides the expatriate with an ease to adjust in that particular country. So training provided through this is a mix of pedagogy like lectures, audiovisual presentations, discussions with the speakers as well as with the host country nationals, etc. Then you have field experience. So here the MNCs depute prospective employee for 6 months period to the foreign subsidiary to observe and learn the culture, job related skills and knowledge. So employee returns to the home country, prepares his or her family members and take them for the foreign assignment. Then you have in-house training program. So here the employee is being trained in foreign exchange, international economies, international trade and other related area in order to provide managerial skills, job skills and job knowledge. So Japanese MNCs realize the significance of developing managerial skills to expatriates in order to prepare them for added responsibilities in overseas assignment. Then you have outside agencies. So there are a number of outside agencies and consultants throughout the world who offer training program to the expatriates to prepare them for the foreign jobs. So these are the people who will be providing the specialistic training in skills, managerial skills, technical skills, advanced management knowledge, international politics, international relation, foreign exchange. Then you have something called as on-the-job training assignment. So here, expatriates after adjusting to the physical conditions as well as general culture of the foreign countries should acquire specific cultural skills, interpersonal skills and technical skills relating to the workplace and the job. MNCs can also provide these skills through on-the-job assignment. In fact, employee acquires the skill most efficiently through on-the-job assignments only. Then you have international team training. So here international team training is team is a group of employees with complementary skills. So in fact, most of the MNCs of late started designing and building teams for enhanced organizational performance, as it is widely established that team performance is superior to the individual. So working in a team is very important, wherein it requires understanding and adapting to the culture, values, norms and other behavioral aspects of the members of the team. In turn, team as a whole has to tune its behavior towards the required behavior for the project, task and the organization. That is the training which is being given in international team training. Coming on to sensitivity training. Sensitivity training involves such groupings as training groups, which are also being called as encounter groups, laboratory training groups, and human awareness groups, which are the names associated with the sensitivity training. Sensitivity training is about making people understand about themselves and others reasonably, which is done by developing in them social sensitivity and behavioral flexibility. So here sensitivity training is being provided to understand the behavior of self as well as others, taking into consideration the social sensitivity and bringing in flexibility in the behavior. Social sensitivity is one word of empathy. It is the ability of the individual to sense what others feel and think from their own point of view. Behavioral flexibility is ability to behave suitably in the light of understanding. In one way, sensitivity training is a process of developing emotional intelligence within an individual, which means mental ability an individual possesses, enabling him or her to be sensitive and understand to the emotions of the others, as well being able to manage their own emotions and impulses based on the situational cues. Procedure of sensitivity training. First, in sensitivity training, the trainee has to unfreeze the old values which he or she carries. So here they need to understand the inadequacy of the old values. This is being done when the trainee faces dilemma in which his old values is not able to provide proper guidance. Then you have development of the new values. That means stuffing in the mind of the trainees the new values, wherein the Trainer supports. Trainee begins to examine their interpersonal behavior and giving each other the feedback of the behavior. The reasoning of the feedbacks are discussed with motives trainee to experiment with range of new behaviors and values. This process constitutes the second step in the change process of development of these values. Then you have refreezing the new ones. This step depends upon how much opportunity the trainee gets to practice their new behaviors and values at the workplace. Moving on to career development. So development of the career of expatriate managers is crucial for many organizations. Without world-class managers in the global marketplace, many international firms would not be able to effectively compete against major global competitors. So there are certain professional career specialists which can help expatriates manage their own careers as well as provide individual career counseling. Companies also do have mentoring which can be undertaken by senior peers or superiors or simply by a person the expatriate trusts. So a good mentor is not there to provide the answers but also to assist the individual in developing the skills required in career related complications. Career planning workshops are also organized to provide purposeful learning experiences which emphasizes on self-assessment, development of planning skills. So here, effective workshops help expatriates to analyze their interests, values, goals, and capabilities, considering their options, making decisions related to their present jobs, and establishing personal developmental plans. Then many of the companies also do have assessment centers wherein multiple independent evaluation happens. They often provide conclusive indicator of a participant's potential for success in the range of alternative careers. So here behavior of the employee is being judged by multiple independent evaluators and they just suggest the alternative career and leaving little doubt for the individual as to what future options are available or possible. When it comes to career development, there should not be any gender bias or gender differences being created. So corporate career development opportunities are available more to the male rather than the female. So this surely demonstrates gender bias in the corporate support for expatriates. So when it comes to talent maximization, international firms cannot afford to limit their pool of talent of human resource, excluding certain particular groups, which again brings in certain lack in the business when it comes to having the talented pool. So business firms may unintentionally create a considerable disadvantage for women. So here by doing this, the firms will be unintentionally creating the disadvantage for the women in struggle to internationalize. So since women may not be attracted to or motivated for international careers to the same extent as men. When it comes to career development, international assignment has been seen as the long recognized important mechanism for developing international expertise. So how you can prepare an employee for an international assignment? So you need to train the employee on social and business etiquettes of that particular country, history and folklore, current affairs including relation between host country and the parent country, cultural values, priorities, geographies, major cities, sources of pride and great achievement of the culture, religion and the role of religion in the daily life in that particular country, political structures and current players, practical matters such as currency, transportation, time zone, hours of business and the language. So if you train an employee on all this, we are preparing that particular employee for an international assignment. Coming on to repatriate training. What is this repatriation? It is nothing but a process of returning back from an international assignment to the home country after completing the assignment or some other issues. Repatriation is the last step in the expatriation cycle and it involves readjustment and re-entry of international managers and their families back to their home country. Repatriation training here, it is designed for reallocating the assignee and the family of the assignee. So here the training helps the individual as well as family to adjust to the new environment, prepare for successful interaction in daily life, business situation in the destination country. Repatriation training consists of cultural differences, cultural shock, business life, daily life, city specifics. Training occurs for 8 to 12 hours, separately customized for children and young adult programs. Basically, it is for 4 hours. Is also available. As I explained in the previous slide, expatriation process ends with repatriation. So there is something called as re-entry, which is being done after repatriation training. So once the training is being provided for the repatriates, repatriation training is being provided, they have to have a re-entry in the business context. So here re-entry presents a lot of new challenges. Certain times it also gives an experience of the re-entry shock, which makes the employees exit the organization. So multinationals have to have the ability to retain current and attract future expatriates, which is affected by the manner in which it handles the repatriation. Companies like Coke, Cisco, Britannia, Honda increasingly hire repatriates. So reason why the repatriates are being hired by these companies, so they have imbibed global culture and also have understood local culture. So these repatriates are the people who have already imbibed the global culture and already understood the local culture also. So it becomes an ease for the business to have its products and services distributed throughout the world, understanding the global culture and local culture through these repatriates. So the repatriates have the extensive understanding of how the company is perceived in other countries. So when they have already worked in other countries, so they have the knowledge of how the company is being perceived in those countries, the negative and positive emotions of the people of that particular country for that particular company. Then repatriates also understand operations of the country headquarters and overseas operations also. The transfer of important technology or information from foreign subsidiary to home country can be done if you hire repatriates. Then social network help in coordination between home country and the host country. The social network which they have already with their experience, it helps in coordinating between the host country and the home country. So this is the reason why the repatriates are being hired by many of the companies. One example being given here, Honda, the trendsetter in handling expatriates, it defines clearly objectives of the assignment before it starts. The objectives can range from development of a new product to improvement in vendor relationships. Then selected repatriate prepare themselves with the assignments by the analysis of their strengths and weaknesses. Well before the assignment is completed, all the expats is ready to return or the expats are ready to become the repats. Honda identifies suitable job for that particular repat and makes arrangement for debriefing sessions to capture the important lessons from the assignment. So this is how Honda utilizes the repatriates' skill, talent and knowledge. There are a lot of challenges being faced by repatriates when it comes to adjustment. So here the company changes. Obviously, when they come back to the home country, there will be a lot of changes in the company. Again, adjusting to the changes of that particular company. Then societal changes. The repatriates as well as family have to face the challenge of the changes in the society, family adjustment, the schools, colleges, as well as accommodation and all those things. A lot of adjustments will be there. Then exit consideration. Then afterwards may lead to altered perspective. So these are the different challenges or adjustment challenges which are being faced by the repatriates. UK repatriation study, they surveyed 124 recently repatriated employees and indicated 5 predictors for repatriate maladjustment. which is ranked in order. Length of time abroad. The time spent by the repatriate abroad is a predictor for repatriation maladjustment. They may not be in a position to ultimately adjust to the home country. Then unrealistic expectation of job opportunities in the home country. So these repatriates expect that whatever the compensation, facilities, benefits, as well as the job environment, everything will be much more better in the home country. So these are unrealistic expectations being kept by repatriates, which again leads to maladjustment. Then downward job mobility. Obviously, the designation there will be a lot of mobility which will be there in the job, which will be downward job mobility. Certain times the repatriates may not get the same job which is there in the same position which they hold in the other country when they come to the home country. Then reduced work status also bring in a lot of repatriate maladjustment. Negative perception of the employer support during and after repatriation. If the employer support is very much negative, that means they are not taking care of these repatriates development or career and all these things. It leads to repatriate maladjustment. This was a study being done by UP. Global Relocation Trend Survey. It shows that 60 to 70% of the repatriates or the returnees did not know what their position would be before they came home. 60% said that their firm were vague about repatriation, about their new roles and their career progression. So it was entirely blank. 40% of the repatriates leave their company within a year because they will not be having a good repatriation experience. So this is usually due to poor repatriation process and policies. Solution for this: consult on a design of proactive repatriation process which helps to hold the employee on return from the other countries. So run customized design programs to suit expatriate specific needs. So you need to have a specific training being given to the expatriates. See to it that you have proactive repatriation process, positive proactive repatriation process, wherein you hold the employee on the return, and then you have to plan for personal development profiles on return. So you have to give good career opportunities for the repatriates when they return back. So if you follow these solutions, then probably there will be a good repatriation process and you will be able to retain the talent, the competence or the global competence which is there in your organization rather than letting them off. Then employment expectations, family expectations, partner expectations, your expectations, length of time away, age and stage, what can heighten re-entry shock. So when it comes to re-entry shock, this can be led through employment expectations or family expectations, partner expectation, your expectation, length of time away, age and stage, all these bring in re-entry shock. Now when it comes to career issues of a repatriate, there are a lot of job related issues. First one is no post assignment guarantee of employment. When they come back from their foreign assignments, there is no any guarantee that they'll be having assignment back in the home country. Loss of visibility and isolation, probably they'll not be very much recognized and a lot of isolation will be there. They'll be seen someone different in the organization. They'll not be adjusted in the organization. So there will be a change in home, workplace, career anxiety. So they'll be not having any idea of where their career would go in. And then coming down to the employment relationship and career expectations will be again a lot of issues will be there in that employment relationships between the home country nationals as well as the repatriate who has returned to the home country. Then career expectations will be very high but may not be met by the organization. Then re-entry position, what position they'll attain after re-entry, will the same position will be withheld or they'll be again downward trend in the position. Then devaluing of international experience, work adjustment, role behavior, role clarity, role discretion, role conflict again, autonomy, responsibility, lower pay in absolute terms, drop in housing conditions, loss of status, loss of pay, all these are different job related issues which the repatriate face. Next you have individual reaction or social factor, that is the second career issue in repatriate. So here international experience can distance the repatriate and family socially and psychologically. So each family member undergoing readjustment, each family member has to undergo the readjustment. There will be a distance between the family member and the repatriate, and again re-establishing entirely again the social networks, which is very difficult, and effect on partner career, that also would be the issues which are being faced by individual repatriates. How can you develop international staff and multinational teams? One is through management development programs, wherein you gain international experience, help in career progression of the employees, develop future international business expansions. Then second one is you have organizational development, wherein you keep on accumulating the stock of knowledge, skill and ability upon which organization can grow in future. Then individual developmental plans and job rotation. These are the ways through which you can develop international staff and multinational teams. Connecting to the previous slide, management development tools, new range of jobs, tasks, challenges, financial gain and career advancement, if it is being given, then it really helps the employees. How international teams benefit the multinationals? They go in when you have the international teams working in the multinationals, it fosters innovation because you have the talent from each and every loop and corner of the world. It fosters innovation, organization learning, transfer of knowledge happens. Then it assists in breaking down functions and national boundaries. There will not be any national boundary. Encourage diverse inputs. So you have people from all around the world coming in, so with their diverse knowledge, skills and abilities, and they'll be putting their inputs. And it also assists in developing global perspective or broader perspective, and it develops shared values. International cadre is another choice, wherein you separate group of expatriate managers who specialize in a career of international assignment, have permanent international assignments for them, move from international assignment to international assignments. That means you keep on giving them assignments and you specialize them into international category. Coming now to the last part of this particular module, knowledge transfer in multinational companies. So it is not solely perceived as one-way movement of method from headquarters to foreign subsidiary. In fact, reverse knowledge transfer from subsidiary to headquarters is increasingly becoming an object of the research. So it is to and fro from headquarters, that is parent country, to the host country or the subsidiaries, on the subsidiaries to the parent country. So we believe that knowledge achieved by subsidiaries through best practices and innovation is fundamental for improvement of overall performance of the multinational companies. Thank you all for your patience listening. I hope module 4 is being understood to you all. Any queries, you can call me on my mobile number 960 6699 299.